Little Johnny was spending the summer on his grandfather's farm. One afternoon, he came sprinting into the kitchen, out of breath and shouting, "Grandpa, Grandpa, you have to come quick! The bull is shagging the cow!" His grandfather looked up, appalled. "Johnny, we don't use that kind of language on this farm. If you want to tell me about the birds and the bees, you need to be more polite. From now on, just say the bull is surprising the cow." Johnny nodded, looking a bit sheepish. A few weeks later, Johnny was back at the farm. Suddenly, the screen door flew open and Johnny raced in, more excited than ever. "Grandpa, guess what? The bull is surprising all the cows." The grandfather beamed with pride. "Well, now, Johnny, I'm glad you took my advice to heart and cleaned up your language. But your grammar is a little off, son. You see, the bull can only surprise one cow at a time. So you should say, the bull is surprising the cow." Johnny shook his head frantically. "No, Grandpa, he's really surprising all of them. He's shagging the horse."
Bubba and Billy Bob were known for having quite a bit less than the average intelligence around Little Rock. One day, in the Little Rock Walmart, they decided to get in on the weekly charity raffle. They each bought 5 tickets at $1 a pop. The following week, when the raffle was drawn, each had won a prize. Billy Bob won first place, a year's supply of gourmet spaghetti sauce and extra long spaghetti. Bubba won 6th prize, a toilet brush. About a week or so had passed when the men met back at Walmart. Bubba asked Billy Bob how he liked his prize, to which Billy Bob replied, "Great, I love spaghetti." Billy Bob asked Bubba, "How about you? How's the toilet brush?" "Not so good," replied Bubba. "I reckon I'm going to switch back to paper."
Donald Trump was visiting a local elementary school. While walking across the grounds with the principal, he spotted a young boy standing completely still in the middle of a grassy field. All the other children were 100 yards away, sprinting and shouting. Thinking he'd found a kid who was being left out, Trump walked over to him. "Excuse me, young man," he said, putting a hand on the boy's shoulder. "Everything okay? You look a little lonely out here. It's a beautiful field, very high quality, but you're all by yourself." The boy looked up, a bit confused. "I'm fine, Mr. President." "Listen," Trump continued, "you don't have to stay here. You should be out there with the winners, running around, having a great time. Don't let them leave you behind. Go join the group." The boy shook his head politely. "I really think it's best if I stay right here, sir." "Why?" Trump asked, leaning in. "Are you worried about something? I can fix it." The boy pointed to the 2 white posts behind him and said, "Because I'm the goalie, sir."
An Englishman, a Frenchman, a stunning young blonde, and a stern-looking elderly woman were all sharing a private compartment on a train winding through the dark tunnels of the Alps. The mood was quiet until the train suddenly plunged into a long, pitch-black tunnel. For 10 seconds, the compartment was in total darkness. Suddenly, whack! The sound of a brutal, ringing slap echoed through the car. When the train finally burst back into the sunlight, the Frenchman was slumped in his seat, desperately rubbing a bright red handprint on his cheek. The old lady thought, "I knew it. That Frenchman tried to get fresh with the young girl in the dark, and she gave that pervert exactly what he deserved." The blonde girl thought, "Poor guy. He clearly tried to grope me in the dark, grabbed the old lady by mistake, and she nearly took his head off." The Frenchman thought, "Unbelievable. That Englishman must have fondled the blonde, and in the confusion, she thought it was me and slapped me." The Englishman sat there with a deadpan face, thinking, "I can't wait for the next tunnel so I can deck that French idiot again." A wealthy businessman was enjoying an espresso at an exclusive rooftop lounge in Dubai when a scruffy, disheveled man approached his table. "I have something you need," the man whispered, pulling a dented golden lighter from his pocket. "It's yours for $1 million. The businessman nearly choked on his coffee. "1 million? It looks like it's been through a blender. I wouldn't give you a single dirham for that piece of junk." Without a word, the man flicked the lighter. Poof!
A massive, shimmering genie appeared in a cloud of blue smoke. "Your command, master?" the genie boomed. The man sighed. "I'm a bit parched. Bring me a small cup of mint tea with 2 sugars." The genie snapped his fingers, flash, and a steaming glass of tea appeared on a silver tray. The businessman's jaw hit the floor. He didn't even haggle. He pulled out his checkbook, wrote a check for $1 million on the spot, and practically snatched the lighter away. He sprinted back to his penthouse, locked the doors, and flicked the lighter with trembling hands. The genie appeared once more. "Your command, master?" The businessman's eyes gleamed with greed. "I want a fleet of gold-plated Ferraris. I want a private island in the Maldives, and I want my bank account topped off with another $10 billion. The genie looked at him with a polite, confused expression and shrugged. "I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding, sir," the genie replied. "I'm the refreshments genie. I only do tea and coffee. Now, would you like sugar with that?" Patty finally treated himself to a brand new, top-of-the-line BMW X5. He was over the moon. During the day, he was cruising around town, smooth as silk, showing off the leather interior to everyone he knew. But as soon as the sun went down, the car wouldn't budge an inch. After 5 nights of being stuck in his driveway, Patty had enough. He called the dealership and started screaming into the phone. "This German engineering is a load of rubbish. The car works fine for lunch, but it's a total brick after dark." The dealership sent their head technician out to Patty's house. The tech hopped in the driver's seat, started the engine, and everything sounded perfect. He looked over at Patty. "All right, Patty, walk me through exactly what you're doing. Let's look at the gear shift. Are you sure you're putting it in the right setting?" Patty rolled his eyes and scoffed. "Listen, I might be new to the BMW, but I'm not an idiot. I know exactly how the gears work." He pointed aggressively at the console and said, "I use D for day and N for night. Now tell me why the bloody thing won't move." A woman walks into a bar. She's very inebriated, so she stumbles to the bartender. "I will have a whiskey sour," she slurs. "I can't serve you, ma'am. You've had too much," the barkeep informs her. Looking disgruntled, she walks out the front door. A few minutes later, she walks in through the side entrance. "Barkeep, give me gin and ginger," she hiccups. "As I told you before, I can't serve you. Would you like me to get you a cab?" the bartender says patiently. Looking quizzically at the bartender, she shakes her head and stumbles out. A few minutes later, she walks in the front door again. "Give me the blue motorcycle," she demands. "Look, ma'am," the bartender says sternly, having lost his patience. "If you do not let me call you a cab, I'm going to have to call the police." She peers at him with red, blurry eyes and mumbles, "How many friggin' bars do you work at?" 2 physicians boarded a flight out of Seattle and took their seats, one by the window, the other in the middle. Just before takeoff, an attorney boarded and took the aisle seat next to them. Settling in, the attorney kicked off his shoes and wiggled his toes when the physician by the window said, "I think I'll get up and grab a Coke." "No problem," the attorney offered. "I'll get it for you." As soon as he left, one of the physicians picked up the attorney's shoe and spat in it. When the attorney returned with the Coke, the other physician said, "That looks good. I think I'll have one too." Again, the attorney kindly went to fetch it. While he was gone, the second physician picked up the other shoe and spat in it as well. When the attorney returned, they all sat back and enjoyed the flight. But as the plane landed, the attorney slipped his feet into his shoes and immediately realized what had happened. Shaking his head, he sighed. How long must this war between our professions continue? This animosity, this bitterness, this spitting in shoes and pissing in Cokes? A blonde nun was kneeling in her small, quiet room when suddenly the ceiling opened up and a radiant light filled the space. The voice of the Almighty boomed. My daughter, your devotion has been exemplary. You ask for so little and give so much. To show my favor, I will grant you any one wish your heart desires." The nun was stunned. "Oh, Father, I am truly blessed as I am. My life is full. My heart is happy. I really don't need a thing." "Come now," God encouraged. "There must be one thing in this world that bothers you, something I can fix with the snap of my fingers." The nun sighed, and a small frown crossed her face. "Well, if I'm being honest, it's the blonde jokes. They are so cruel and demeaning. Could you please just make them go away? Erase them from the minds of everyone on earth?" "Consider it done," God replied. "Poof! From this moment forward, the concept of a blonde joke no longer exists in human memory. But surely there is something more personal I can do for you. A small gift for your comfort?" The nun blushed and looked down at her hands. "Well, there is one tiny thing, but it's probably too silly for the creator of the universe to worry about." "Nothing is too small for me," God said warmly. "Tell me." She looked up with genuine frustration and said, "It's these M&Ms, Father. They are just so incredibly hard to peel."
A guy was working in his garden over the weekend, and looking around, he realized that he couldn't find the rake. He looked up at the bedroom window and saw his wife was about to take a shower. He yelled up to his wife, "Where is the rake?" She couldn't hear him, so she shouted back, "What?" He pointed to his eye, then to his knee, and made a raking motion. When his wife wasn't sure, she called out, "What?" He repeated the gestures. "I need the rake." His wife signaled with a thumbs up that she understood and signaled back. She first pointed to her eye, then to her left breast, then she pointed to her butt, and finally to her crotch. Well, there was no way in hell he could even come close to that one. Exasperated, he went upstairs and asked her, "What the hell was that?" She replied, "I left tit behind the bush."
An old traveler was trekking through the desert with his donkey when he stumbled upon a village plagued by a brutal year-long drought. The people were desperate, surviving on nothing but bitter camel milk, saving every precious drop of water for their dying crops. Seeing their suffering, the traveler announced, "I am a man of deep secrets. I can bring the rain, but first I need a sacrifice. Bring me one full bucket of your remaining water so that I may begin the ritual." The villagers scrambled, emptying their last jars until they had just enough to fill a single wooden bucket. The man took the water into his host's hut and closed the door. A few minutes later, a young boy peeked through the window and gasped. He ran to the village square, shouting, "He's a fraud! He's not praying! He's doing his laundry!" The villagers stormed the hut, ready to drive him out, only to find the old man calmly hanging his soaking wet tunics on a makeshift clothesline. "You thief!" the chief roared. "You used our last drop of life to wash your dirty rags!" But before the chief could grab him, a thunderclap shook the ground. The sky turned ink black, and a torrential downpour began that lasted for 5 straight days. The village was saved. As the old man was packing his donkey to leave, the boy whispered, "Sir, how did you do it? What was the secret ritual?" The old man sighed and looked at his damp clothes. "There is no ritual, son. It's just that every single time I hang my laundry out to dry, it pours."
A high-flying stockbroker pulled up to the curb in his brand-new BMW, adjusted his tailored Italian suit, and stepped out. He was halfway to his office when a little girl at a sidewalk stand called out, "Lemonade, mister? Only $50. The broker stopped in his tracks and laughed. $50? Kid, you mean 50 cents? I think your sign is missing a decimal point. Nope, she said with a bright smile. $50. I'm saving up for space camp. The broker smirked. He appreciated the hustle, but he couldn't resist a teaching moment. Look, I've got an MBA from Wharton. In the real world, you have to charge what the market can bear. Nobody is going to pay $50 for a cup of lukewarm lemonade. It's basic economics. The girl just shrugged. $50, mister. All right, let's try this, the broker said, leaning in. Do you have anything else for sale? Something at a competitive price point? Homemade brownies, she chirped. 50 cents each. The broker beamed. Now that is how you move inventory. See? Low price, high volume. I'll tell you what, since I want to teach you a lesson in business, I'll take 2 brownies. Here's $1. The girl took the dollar and handed him 2 dark, fudgy-looking brownies. To prove his point about smart purchasing, the broker took a massive, smug bite of the first brownie. Suddenly, his face went pale. He started gagging, coughing, and clutching his throat. Oh, God, he wheezed. What is in this? It tastes like dirt and old socks. The little girl leaned her chin on her hands and smiled sweetly. That's my secret recipe. It's mostly cocoa powder, sawdust, and dried goat droppings. I'm gonna puke, the broker gasped, his face turning green. I need to wash this taste out of my mouth. Anything, please. The little girl reached under the table, pulled out a jar overflowing with $50 bills, and pointed at her pitcher. Lemonade is $50, mister. You want some or not?
A newly married couple is lying in bed, and the husband curiously asks his wife how many men she has been with. Despite his question, the woman remains silent, looking at the ceiling. Pressing the matter, the husband asks again, assuring her, "Just share it with me, it's okay. How many men have you been with?" Still met with silence, the wife's eyes remain fixed above. Realizing that his words may have caused discomfort, the husband apologizes. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. I just thought we could have an open and trusting relationship." However, his wife remains silent. Feeling a sense of defeat, the husband concedes, saying, "That's all right, please don't be upset." Despite his attempts to comfort her, the woman does not respond. The husband, determined to bridge the gap, begins to hold her closely, showering her with hugs and kisses as a display of his affection. In this moment of intimacy, the wife appears to snap out of her silence. She redirects her gaze from the ceiling to her husband, her expression now one of frustration. With a hint of exasperation, she blurts out, "Oh, come on, you've made me lose count." A husband and wife were sitting on the porch one evening, watching the sunset and talking about the future. The conversation turned a bit serious, and the husband asked, "Honey, if I were to pass away first, would you ever consider getting married again?" The wife squeezed his hand and shook her head. "No, of course not. I couldn't imagine being with anyone else. I'd probably just move in with my sister and keep her company." She stayed quiet for a moment, then looked at him. "What about you? If I were the one to go first, would you ever remarry?" The husband took a long sip of his drink, looked out at the horizon, and gave it some serious thought. "No," he finally replied. "I think I'd just live with your sister too." 3 women were sitting in the salon, getting their hair done and venting about the mysteries of marriage. The first woman sighed as the stylist worked on her highlights. "I swear, I can never keep track of my husband. Last night, he told me he had to work late at the office. But when I called his desk at 8 p.m., his secretary said he'd been gone for hours." The second woman shook her head. "That's nothing. Mine told me he was heading over to his brother's place to watch the game. I called his brother 10 minutes later, and he hadn't even seen him." The third woman sat back in her chair, looking completely relaxed. She took a sip of her water and said with a confident smile, "I never have that problem. I know exactly where my husband is, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week." The other 2 women stopped mid-gossip and stared at her in total disbelief.
"How is that even possible?" the first one asked. "He must have you completely brainwashed." The third woman let out a dry little chuckle and checked her manicure. "Oh, not at all," she replied. "He's in a jar on my mantle."
One day, a little boy named Sam was playing in the backyard when, during an intense pretend battle, he accidentally knocked over the outhouse. Panicked, he ran into the woods, hiding until after dark. When he finally came home, his pappy was waiting for him with a suspicious look. "Son, did you knock over the outhouse this afternoon?" Sam gulped. "No, pappy," he lied. His father sighed and said, "Let me tell you a story, son. A long time ago, young George Washington got a brand new axe. Excited, he tested it out and accidentally chopped down his mother's favorite cherry tree. Realizing what he had done, he ran off, just like you. When he came back, his father asked, 'George, did you cut down the cherry tree?' And do you know what he said? 'Father, I cannot tell a lie. I did indeed chop down the tree.' And because he was honest, his father forgave him and let him go without punishment." Pappy leaned in and asked again, "Now, son, did you knock down the outhouse?" Sam took a deep breath and said, "Pappy, I cannot tell a lie. I did indeed knock down the outhouse." Then Pappy tanned his hide red, white, and blue. Through teary eyes, Sam cried, "But Pappy, George Washington's father forgave him. Why did you spank me?" Pappy shook his head and said, "Because, son, George Washington's father wasn't sitting in that cherry tree when he chopped it down."